Look around this room. Right now, someone you know is quietly dismantling your reality, not with a sledgehammer, but with a scalpel. They aren't just angry with you. They have crossed the threshold from ordinary toxicity into a deliberate, surgical campaign to annihilate your credibility, your peace, and your sense of self. Most people think a malignant narcissist wants an argument. They don't. They want your complete psychological surrender. If you stay for the next 20 minutes, you are going to learn the behavioral signatures that separate a difficult person from an apex emotional predator. More importantly, I am going to show you the exact moment the mask slips, the invisible tripwire that proves they are no longer trying to win an argument, but are actively trying to destroy you. If you miss sign number 4, you will walk right into the trap they laid for you this morning. Pay attention, because what you don't know about their next move can cost you everything. There is a distinct, chilling sound when a narcissist decides you are no longer an asset to be used, but a liability to be erased. It isn't a slammed door. It isn't a scream. It is the sudden, terrifying silence of a predator calculating angles. We spend our lives looking for the obvious monsters, the rage, the overt insults, the dramatic breakups. But true destruction doesn't look like chaos. It looks like a spreadsheet. It looks like strategy. When a narcissist shifts from wanting to control your behavior to wanting to destroy your foundation, their behavioral patterns change in predictable, measurable ways. If you understand behavioral clustering, you can spot the trap before the door slams shut. Sign number 1. The preemptive smear campaign. Long before you realize the relationship is over, they are already drafting your obituary in the minds of everyone who matters to you. They aren't just gossiping, they are laundering their reputation by staining yours. They drop casual, calculated hints to your friends, family, or colleagues. Phrases like, "I'm just so worried about their stability lately," or, "You have no idea what I've been covering for behind closed doors." They are inoculating their social circle against the truth, so that when you finally try to speak up, your voice has already been muted by design. Sign number 2. The weaponization of deep confessions. Think back to the moments in the relationship when you felt safest, the times you laid bare your deepest insecurities, your past traumas, or your professional failures. A normal partner holds those secrets with reverence. A narcissist files them away like munitions in a silo. When they want to destroy you, they don't attack your strengths. They take the exact vulnerabilities you trusted them with and aim them right at your psychological vitals, using them with surgical precision to make you feel fundamentally broken. Sign number 3. The engineered financial or social isolation. Control requires a closed system. When destruction is the goal, they systematically begin cutting the electrical cords of your support network. They create friction between you and your closest allies, pick fights before every important family event, or subtly sabotage your career milestones. They want you stranded on a deserted island of your own anxiety, so that when they pull the rug out, there is no one left to catch you. Sign number 4. The fabrication of crisis. Watch their energy. When they want to destroy you, they stop trying to resolve conflicts and instead start manufacturing emergencies out of thin air. They will push, poke, and needle you with impossible demands, sleepless nights, and cyclical arguments designed to fray your nervous system. They need you exhausted, hypervigilant, and cognitively overloaded, because a sleep-deprived, anxious brain cannot mount an effective defense. Sign number 5. The trap of reactive abuse. This is their masterpiece. They push you past the boundary of human endurance through steady, invisible psychological water torture until you finally snap. And the second you raise your voice, slam a door, or send an angry text, the mask flies back on. They record the moment, screenshot the text, and present it to the world with a look of profound victimhood. They didn't just make you mad, they forced you to play the role of the aggressor so they could justify the execution. Sign number 6. The total lack of future faking. In the beginning, they painted a grand, intoxicating future to hook you. When they want to destroy you, that future vanishes overnight. Conversations become chillingly transactional, cold, or entirely devoid of shared horizons. They look at you not with anger, but with the hollow, dead-eyed indifference of a chess player looking at a pawn they are about to sacrifice. They have already checked out of the reality you share because they are already living in the aftermath of your ruin. Understanding these 6 signs isn't about paranoia, it's about calibration. When you see the blueprint, the fear evaporates and the math takes over. You stop reacting to their performance and start protecting your perimeter. To understand the shift from control to annihilation, you have to look at the psychological mechanics beneath the surface. In the initial phases of manipulation, a narcissist treats you like a piece of valuable machinery. They want the engine running because it produces a reliable stream of attention, validation, labor, and compliance. When their objective is control, their behaviors are designed to modify your actions, limit your autonomy, and keep you tethered to their orbit. They use gaslighting to make you second-guess your judgment so you rely on theirs. They use intermittent reinforcement to keep you chasing approval. In that stage, the game is management. You are useful to them, and as long as you are useful, they have a vested interest in keeping the structure of your life somewhat intact. The pivot occurs the moment you become a threat to their constructed reality. This happens when you see behind the mask, when you set an unbreakable boundary, or when you possess evidence that could expose their true character to the outside world. At this exact threshold, the cost-benefit analysis in their mind flips entirely. You are no longer an asset to be managed. You are an existential liability that must be neutralized. When this transition takes place, the behavioral baseline shifts from covert steering to overt psychological demolition. You will notice a profound change in the energy of their hostility. When they wanted control, their anger had a clear objective: to force an apology, to make you drop a line of questioning, or to keep you compliant. The conflict was a tool to extract a specific behavioral outcome. When they switch to annihilation, the conflict is no longer about reaching a resolution or modifying your behavior. The objective is to permanently destabilize your foundation so that you are too broken, exhausted, or discredited to ever stand as a credible witness against them. Watch the shift in how they allocate their resources. When a narcissist decides to destroy you, they begin operating on a timeline that extends far beyond the immediate argument. They start documenting everything you do, misrepresenting casual conversations, and collecting third-party leverage. They stop engaging in the emotional push-pull dynamic that characterized the earlier stages of the relationship. Instead, you will observe an unsettling, predatory calm. They are no longer desperate for your reaction in the room because they are orchestrating a narrative for an audience outside the room. They begin testing the structural integrity of your life. They will look at your career, your financial stability, your closest friendships, and your mental health, and they will methodically apply pressure to the weakest points. In the control phase, they might criticize your friends to keep you home on a Friday night. In the annihilation phase, they will contact those friends directly with fabricated stories designed to ensure you never have a safe place to land. In the control phase, they might belittle your work. In the annihilation phase, they will actively sabotage a critical deadline or contact your employer under the guise of deep concern. Every maneuver is designed to strip away your resources until you are utterly defenseless. The ultimate goal is no longer to make you submit within the dynamic, but to dismantle the entire framework of your life so thoroughly that your voice ceases to carry any weight anywhere. The collection of psychological intelligence begins long before the first open conflict ever erupts. In the foundational phase of a relationship, human beings naturally exchange vulnerabilities to establish trust and reciprocity. When you disclose your deepest childhood wounds, your secret insecurities, your past failures, or the moments in life where you felt entirely powerless. A healthy partner stores that information under a blanket of protection. A predatory narcissist stores it in an indexed archive. They do not listen with empathy. They listen with the focused calibration of an operative mapping out your behavioral fault lines and stress points. During this rapport-building period, they explicitly mirror your confessions with performative validation. They create an environment that feels uniquely safe, often telling you, "I would never judge you for that," or "You never have to hide who you are with me." This targeted verbal framing is designed to lower your cognitive defenses, encouraging you to map out the exact blueprint of your nervous system. They now know what makes you feel ashamed, what triggers your panic, who hurt you in the past, and which specific words have the power to make you feel fundamentally unlovable. When the dynamic shifts into destruction, this entire archive is systematically unsealed and weaponized. The deployment of this information is never random or emotional. It is executed with surgical timing. A narcissist knows that generic insults bounce off a fortified ego, so they bypass your outer defenses entirely and strike directly at the core vulnerabilities you handed them in confidence. If you shared that you harbor a deep-seated fear of turning into an abusive parent, they will calmly look you in the eyes during an argument and say, "You're acting just like your mother right now, and everyone can see it." The neurological impact of this maneuver is immediate and devastating. When an intimate confession is turned into ammunition, the brain experiences an instantaneous split. You are forced to reconcile the fact that the sanctuary you thought you built has been converted into an execution chamber. This sudden breach of trust floods the nervous system with shame and confusion, resulting in cognitive paralysis. Instead of addressing the actual manipulation taking place, your focus is forcibly derailed into defending your core worth and past traumas. By targeting your catalog vulnerabilities, they achieve complete tactical dominance in any interaction. They know precisely which buttons to press to induce tears, panic, or hyperventilation, effectively disabling your critical thinking faculties in real time. Once you are destabilized by your own exposed secrets, your ability to enforce boundaries, maintain rational skepticism, or demand accountability collapses entirely. The weaponization of your private pain is not an accidental byproduct of a heated argument. It is a calculated strike designed to shatter your psychological equilibrium and leave you completely unable to mount an effective defense. The smear campaign is a premeditated narrative infrastructure built long before the overt hostility ever reaches the surface. It is a psychological offensive designed to isolate you from your support systems, strip you of your credibility, and control the social perception of reality. A narcissist recognizes that if they openly attack you in front of others, they risk exposing their own malice and losing social currency. To circumvent this, they execute a covert operation that relies on indirect communication, proxy manipulation, and the strategic cultivation of plausible deniability. The foundational phase begins with what behavioral analysts refer to as narrative seeding. Long before you even suspect that a conflict exists, the narcissist begins introducing microscopic doubts about your stability, reliability, and character to your shared network. They do not initiate this with overt vitriol, which would trigger immediate suspicion. Instead, they weaponize faux concern and fabricated empathy. They will quietly pull aside a mutual friend, a family member, or a colleague and drop subtle verbal markers such as, "I'm really worried about how they're handling stress lately," or "I've been doing everything I can to support them, but their behavior has become so erratic behind closed doors." By framing the attack as genuine care, the narcissist creates a psychological anchoring effect. The third party is subtly primed to interpret your future behaviors, particularly any normal displays of frustration, exhaustion, or defense, as definitive proof of the instability the narcissist warned them about. When you eventually react to the covert abuse happening behind closed doors, your natural agitation does not register as a justified reaction to provocation. It registers as the very crisis the narcissist predicted. The audience has been conditioned to look at the victim through a distorted lens, rendering any attempt at truth completely ineffective. As the campaign escalates, the narcissist begins deploying flying monkeys, third-party proxies who are manipulated into doing the narcissist's bidding without realizing they are being used. These individuals are fed carefully curated halves of stories, falsified evidence, and out-of-context reactions. Because these proxies believe they are acting on accurate information and noble intentions, they become devastatingly effective amplifiers of the smear. They reach out to check on you, police your reactions, or subtly pressure you to reconcile, completely unaware that their involvement is tightening the psychological cordon around you. The ultimate objective of this architecture is complete social and professional quarantine. By systematically poisoning every relationship, the narcissist ensures that when you finally attempt to blow the whistle, establish distance, or demand accountability, there is no safe harbor left for you to seek refuge in. Your mutual friends have already been inoculated against your perspective. Your colleagues view you as a potential disruption, and your family members are convinced you are experiencing a mental decline. You are left entirely untethered, forcing you to expend immense cognitive energy defending your basic sanity rather than addressing the deliberate campaign that has stripped away your entire support network. The mechanics of reactive abuse represent the apex of predatory behavioral conditioning. It is a psychological trap specifically designed to invert the roles of victim and perpetrator by exploiting the natural human response to relentless stress. A malignant narcissist understands that as long as they appear calm while you appear unhinged, the external world, and often you yourself, will assign the blame entirely to you. To achieve this, they do not engage in overt, loud aggression that draws outside attention. They apply a steady, imperceptible drip of psychological pressure, systematically eroding your cognitive bandwidth until your nervous system is pushed beyond its physiological breaking point. The process relies on a technique known as behavioral micro-poking. In private environments where there are no witnesses, the narcissist deploys a continuous sequence of covert provocations. These include micro-invalidations, condescending micro-expressions, selective amnesia regarding agreements, deliberate interruptions, and quiet, insidious insults aimed directly at your core insecurities. If you try to address the behavior calmly, they escalate by shifting the goalposts, denying the reality of what just occurred, or mocking your sensitivity. They repeatedly construct inescapable conversational labyrinths where logic is abandoned and every attempt at de-escalation is met with further subtle antagonism. This continuous torment produces profound cognitive and emotional fatigue. When the human brain is subjected to unrelenting, unpredictable psychological assaults, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for executive function, emotional regulation, and impulse control, gradually loses its ability to modulate responses. The amygdala takes over, triggering a primitive fight-or-flight survival state. The narcissist tracks this physiological deterioration in real time, reading the autonomic tells such as the tightening of your jaw, the elevation of your vocal pitch, and the rapid, shallow breathing that signals you are on the verge of total dysregulation. The moment you inevitably cross your threshold and snap, whether you shout, curse, slam your hand on a table, or send a frantic, furious text message, the narcissist's entire demeanor instantaneously transforms. The covert malice vanishes, replaced by cold composure or a look of theatrical shock. They step back, cross their arms, and adopt the posture of an innocent victim being subjected to irrational violence. They will calmly say things like, "Look at how out of control you are," or "I cannot even speak to you when you become this abusive." With the reaction successfully provoked, the final phase of the maneuver is executed: evidence collection and narrative consolidation. The narcissist pulls out their phone to record the tail end of your outburst, takes screenshots of your emotional text messages, or immediately contacts third parties to report your dangerous behavior. The preceding hours, weeks, or months of covert provocation are completely erased from the record. Only your desperate, explosive reaction remains as tangible evidence. They have successfully forced you to perform the exact role of the monster they claimed you were, using your own shattered nervous system to manufacture the ultimate justification for their smear campaign and your complete destruction. Neutralizing a destructive campaign requires moving past instinct and operating under a strict tactical protocol. When a narcissist attempts to dismantle your life, your natural biological impulse is to defend your integrity, over-explain the facts, demand justice, and seek validation from the people around you. Every single one of those impulses provides the narcissist with the exact cognitive fuel, behavioral data, and emotional reaction they need to sustain their attack. Disengagement is not a passive surrender. It is the deliberate, calculated termination of their psychological supply chain. The foundational principle of strategic disengagement is the complete elimination of emotional signaling. In behavioral terms, a narcissist measures control through your physiological response. If your voice shakes, your pitch elevates, or your eyes widen in panic, they confirm their leverage is holding. To break this loop, you must adopt an unreadable, low-affect baseline known as behavioral flattening. When communication is legally or structurally unavoidable, your language must become entirely flat, transactional, and devoid of subtext. You state logistical facts without defense, justification, or apology, offering single-sentence acknowledgments that give them zero conversational momentum to twist into a fresh argument. The second tier of the protocol involves establishing an absolute communication containment zone. Malignant narcissists excel in volatile, unstructured environments like sudden face-to-face confrontations, chaotic phone calls, and unannounced visits. You must immediately shift all interactions to written, time-stamped, and auditable channels. When you eliminate verbal ambiguity, you strip them of their primary weapon, the ability to rewrite reality in real time. Refuse real-time debates by establishing strict communication delays. Forcing interactions onto the record forces the predator to operate under observation, which inherently limits their ability to manufacture false narratives. The third component is rigorous operational security regarding your perimeter. The moment you decide to detach, you must secure your assets, your digital accounts, your physical space, and your strategic intentions. A narcissist relies heavily on the intelligence you willingly give away through mutual contacts, social media breadcrumbs, and shared schedules. You must enact a total information blackout. Never signal your plans, legal steps, or emotional state to anyone who maintains a pipeline back to the narcissist, because secondary flying monkeys will funnel that data straight into the predator's war room. The final operational shift requires relinquishing the need to manage their narrative. The smear campaign is specifically constructed to bait you into public refutations, panic, and counterattacks, which simply prolong the theater and keep you locked in the arena on their terms. You do not win a psychological war with an apex manipulator by convincing their audience of the truth. You win by making yourself entirely unprofitable to target. When you withdraw all emotional feedback, document every transactional interaction with clinical detachment, and starve the predator of a reaction, the psychological game collapses under its own weight.